picking up my vibration a bit, people, because it's once in a blue moon, and I woke up fully charged. I woke up, but when I say fully charged. I woke up like, woohoo! Like somebody told me some good news or something. I just woke up feeling really good today. Um, however, I don't know. I got a inspiration to listen to some Luther Vandross, right? And it's been a good. This is the. I wouldn't say it's the last thing because I am probably gonna do some more content on another platform. But I've done a lot today. But I don't feel tired. I don't feel exhausted. I just did a lot today. I exercised. I cooked breakfast. I have dinner cooking right now. I will get up in 30 minutes to check on my rice. I am making rice and beans and some curry chicken. Uh, I had a workshop that I attended that was for an hour and a half with some phenomenal women. They call themselves the Magdalenes. Very interesting. Um, I put out content on my personal page, and some really heavy stuff. Like I went deep. My spirit just told me share this. Like this is the time to share this. So I just did it, and I didn't think about it. I didn't premeditate. I typically don't premeditate any of my content. This is somewhat of an exception. And the only reason why this is somewhat of an exception is because of the idea. So the idea, and it wasn't even premeditated, it just came and I stuck with it. So I was committed to it after I decided, okay, Soulful Sundays. So, you know that we are reading Joe Dispenza's Evolve Your Brain. If you're following along, this is probably a good day when I get off of here to get my descriptions together because I created a course 2 days ago for men. So yeah. So anyway, we stopped at page 62. 62 is talking about advances in technology. I'm not going to spend a lot of time yippy yapping. I'm going to dive right in. And yeah, because we have an hour together, right? And time goes fast. And in 30 minutes, I will be getting up to check my food. So with no further ado, I'm going to jump right in. It's page 62, rather, of Evolve Your Brain. And it starts with advances in imaging technology. Let's dive deeper. Until recently, our potential to understand the brain has certain limits imposed by the 80-year-old technology of the EEG, electroencephalogram, encephalogram, electroencephalogram, EEG. The EEG provided graphic representations of brain performance, but no imagery to see a living brain. Today, however, scientists can measure brain activity moment by moment. They can view the structure and activity of the living human brain in unprecedented detail, thanks to a revolution in neuroscience and the EEG over the past 30 years. And this was what, 10 years ago? When was this released? 2007, 20 years ago. So now it's been 50 years since this new technology's been out. EEGs. And there is a clinic in New York called the Amen, AMEN, how it sounds, the Amen Clinic, where they have these devices and technology. You could walk in there. It's open to the public. I will find the link and put the link in the description. But he has worked with that doctor. And I, ironically, actually, my my primary care physician, my former primary care physician in New York City, she worked with him as well. And her initial office was literally like right around the corner from his. So I have went to the clinic myself. I have done a consultation with them. I didn't do any imaging with them as of date, but I do intend to circle back to them. Um, and yeah. That's my intention. But let's go further into the book. I said I wasn't gonna do too much yapping, right? I failed. uh, Enhanced by computer technology, the EEG can now provide a three-dimensional representation of a functioning brain. And the reason why I talk so much about the Amen Clinic is because I know this is the technology that they use in this clinic. Even more important in revolutionizing the field of cognitive neuroscience are the latest advances in functional imaging. This technology is based on various principles of physics, from changes in local magnetic fields to the measurement of radioactive emissions. A host of new imaging technologies is literally producing volumes of information about the working brain and the rest of the body as well. As a result, neuroscientists can now study, excuse me, get some more Joe in me. A host of new imaging technologies is literally producing volumes of information about the working brain and the rest of the body as well. As a result, neuroscientists can now study the immediate physiological actions of brain matter, observing the specific, repeatable patterns of a functioning brain. First of the new technologies introduced in 1972 were was computed tomography, CT, also called CAT scanning. A CT brain scan takes a picture or snapshot of the inside of the brain to see whether there is abnormal tissue within the brain's structural components. CT scans merely capture one moment in time. Therefore, they only tell us what anatomical structures exist, what structures are missing, what areas are injured or diseased, and whether there is additional anatomical material that should not be present in the brain. Accordingly, CT scans do not tell us anything about how a brain works, but only why it may not be working normally. We now know that the brain generates numerous chemical mechanisms that are too minute to be visualized and can be measured only by their effects. Only by visualizing a working brain, which CT scans do not permit, can we see these chemical effects in action. Ooh. Positron emission tomography, or PET scanning, is useful in examining the biochemical activity in a functioning brain. The PET device uses gamma rays to construct images that indicate the intensity of metabolic activity in the part of the brain or other body part under observation. In this case, we can now observe the working of the brain over time. Functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, is a radiographic technique that can also take an image of the living brain and show which brain regions are active during any particular mental activity. Although fMRIs do not really show brain activity, they produce a huge clue as to what parts of the brain are working. Via the local metabolic action of the nerve cells as they consume energy and oxygen in different regions of the brain. Single photon emission computed tomography, nuclear medicine, SPEC. This is another, I know they use SPEC at Dr. Amen's clinic for sure, for a fact. They probably use all of these technologies, but SPEC, I definitely remember when I went to do my consultation, they gave me literature on SPEC. SPEC scan, okay, that's a single photon emission computed tomography nuclear medicines. SPECT scan uses multiple gamma ray detectors that rotate around the patient to measure brain function. Functional brain images produced by SPECT can correlate certain patterns of brain activity with neurological illnesses or psychological states. Once excuse me, again, like fMRIs, SPECT scans are a valuable tool in measuring how the nerve cells are activated. These last three functional scanning techniques go way beyond the snapshot technology that demonstrates the still life of the brain, seen in typical CT scans. Instead, brain functional scans are like a motion picture of the entire neurological activity of the brain during a period of time. This is advantageous since a working brain will reveal more about the normal and abnormal activity of the mind. Functional brain scans have allowed us to examine and observe the brain in action or at work. By using functional brain technology, we are studying the mind more accurately than ever before in the history of neuroscience. And again, this is 20 years ago. So you know they even more advanced now, right? Mm-hmm. Researchers have been able to detect repeated patterns in the brain scans of individuals with similar afflictions or injuries, thus helping doctors with the appropriate diagnosis and treatment. A meditation on the mind. Let's look at recent investigation into the relationship between the brain and mind. In the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in November of 2004, excuse me, an article surfaced to validate that mental training through meditation and single minded focus can change the inner workings of the brain. Simply stated, the article demonstrated that it is quite possible to change the way the brain works, thereby changing the mind. In the study, Buddhist monks with considerable expertise in meditation were asked to focus on specific states of mind, such as compassion and unconditional love. All the subjects were connected to a 256 electrical sensors for a sophisticated scan to measure brain wave activity. During their single minded focus, their brains became more coordinated and organized in processing mental activity than the brain of a control group who could not even come close to demonstrating brain wave patterns comparable to those produced by the expert monks. Some of the monks who had practiced meditating for up to 50,000 hours displayed frontal lobe activity and overall brainwave activity that are connected to higher mental functioning and heightened awareness. In fact, they could change the way their brain worked on command. The results showed frontal lobe activity was dramatically elevated in the monks compared to the control group. In fact, the monks who had meditated the longest showed levels of one kind of electrical brain impulses called gamma waves that were higher than researchers had ever seen in a healthy person. These particular brainwave states are typically present when the brain is making new circuits. The left frontal lobe is the area of the brain that correlates with joy. And one Buddhist monk, his activity was so enhanced and I was about to say advanced. So enhanced in the left frontal region, the scientist performing the study said that he must be the happiest man alive. What we found is that the longtime practitioner showed brain activation on a scale we have never seen before, stated Dr. Richard Davison from the University of Wisconsin, who headed the experiment. He added, their mental practice is having an effect on the brain in the same way golf or tennis practice will enhance performance. In a later interview, Dr. Davison said, what we found is that the trained mind or brain is physically different than the untrained one. From this experiment, we see that if one can improve how the brain works, we are essentially changing the mind. A thought just came to me, so I'm going to share it So, with this information and with this technology and with this knowledge, what do you think is being done with it? Is it being used ethically? Because there's a reason why a lot of stuff is repeated. That is a part of programming your mind. Just some food for thought. I'll get back into the book. From this experiment, we see that if one can improve how the brain works, we are essentially changing the mind. I believe Dr. Joe Dispenza is ethical for sure. Um, However, you know, just saying, just putting it out there. Let's ponder the implications of this study for a moment. If the brain is the instrument of conscious and subconscious thought impulses, and the mind is the end product of the brain, then who or what is doing the changing of the brain and the mind? And pause again. And the reason why I put that question out there is to get people to look more critically and to think more critically about what they're consuming, and not just what they're putting in their mouth and consuming into their physical bodies, but what are you consuming into your mind on a daily basis? Is it something that is healthy, that is building you up, and how does it affect your behavior? How does it affect the behavior of others and the people that are around you? What are they consuming on a daily basis? Or what are they watching? What are they listening to? Because all of that is feeding your mind. But I digress and get back to the book. Just questions so you can be more conscious, because we all have the choice on what we choose to consume. Just because something is entertaining or grabs our attention doesn't mean that we have to keep our attention there. We can always withdraw our attention, especially if it's something that's disturbing, a disturbing post, or even a disturbing movie or a disturbing song. Like, um, be mindful and no, you got control over what you put in your mind. And you may not even be thinking about it. You may just be like going along with your day thinking, oh, this is regular, 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 regular. Is it? Is it regular? Because when you see people doing things that don't reflect sensibility, there's a reason why they're doing things that don't reflect sensibilities. Sometimes it's because they may have mental illnesses, other times it's because of the programming. And just because something is common, like wearing your pants off your ass, that's something that's common, but is it sensible? You can argue and say, "Oh, it's fashionable," but I don't see what's fashionable by looking at a man's underwear in the middle of the street. I don't see what's fashionable about that. Me personally, my personal opinion. But a lot of people do it. To me, it's not sensible. To them, it's fashionable, and because a lot of people are doing it, they just do it too. And to some women, they don't even care. They don't notice. They don't care. It ain't even something that they are consciously aware of as being um, insensible. And that's my personal description of it. Not going against anybody's fashion choices. Just, yeah, let's get back to the book. The mind cannot change the mind because the mind is the result of the brain. The mind cannot change the brain because the mind is the brain's product. And the brain cannot change the workings of the mind because the brain is only the hardware through which the mind operates. Finally, the brain cannot change the brain because it is lifeless without some force at work influencing the mind. That's what I was talking about, influences. If the brain and the mind can be made to work better by practice, and a mindful skill can be developed to change the internal workings of the brain, then who or what is doing the changing of the brain and the mind? The answer is that elusive 13-letter word, consciousness. That concept has confounded scientists for many years. However, in the last 10 years, scientists, and this was 20 years ago, so in the last 30 years, being true to date, right? Scientists are beginning to include consciousness as a factor in many of the theories directed towards understanding the nature of reality. Without getting too mystical or philosophical, some of my favorite words, consciousness is what gives the brain life. It is the invisible life essence that animates the brain aspect of self, both aware and unaware, both conscious and subconscious, that's the unaware part, using the brain to capture thoughts and then coalescing them to create the mind. When I took neuroanatomy, it's why people look at me so strange because these are the thought patterns that I'm on. These are the things that interest me. Um, it ain't, I wouldn't say it's not common, but the people that I converse with are not all interested in neuroscience, you know? So it's like when they see me smiling and laughing and happy and finding the positive aspects within things and voicing them, then they like, she crazy. She crazy. She crazy. No, I'm intentional. I'm intentionally looking at positive things. I'm intentionally focusing on positive things. I intentionally meditate, not every day. I ain't gonna stay up here and tell y'all no falsehoods. I don't do it every day, but I do it. And I am in the process of developing it as a daily practice, along with other daily practices, such as physical exercises and physical stretches and all of those things, right? To have everything harmonious, right? And so I get it. And so that's why I'm like not offended. I don't take it personal. I may notice it, I may become aware of it, and it may affect how I choose to interact with the same individual moving forward. But I'm not angry about it. And I have enough emotional intelligence to know when it's a good time, for the most part, to share how I feel. And I also know that me sharing how I feel, if it's somebody that I was attempting to establish a friendship with, because I just recently had an experience earlier this month where I shared how I felt. I had already made up my mind. I shared how I felt. And basically, me sharing how I felt with this individual was to disconnect, you know. And because I have respect and because I care for the person, I wanted to prepare them and let them know I'm about to disconnect. And I explained to them why I was disconnecting. And before they can even listen to what I had communicated, they got very defensive. They behaved and responded in that way. And I did take the opportunity to respond back to say, this is exactly why I'm making the choice that I'm making. You didn't even take the time to listen to hear everything that I communicated with you. And that's okay. I'm not, they tried to say I was villainizing them, their words, not mine. And I was like, I'm not trying to villainize you. I'm just stating we're at two different points. And I have to do what's in my best interest. And what's in my best interest is this disconnection right now. That may change in the future, but right now, this is what's in my best interest, and this is what I'm going to do. And that's what I did. And I stuck by it, stuck with it, and, made it so that they could not send me any more uh, angry stuff and, just disconnected. So, I'm not communicating with individuals that's a part of the Mensa Society. And if you don't even know what the Mensa Society is, it's okay. But I do. And some people operate just like those monks operate with more activity in their frontal lobe. I'm one of those people. And I know I'm one of those people. And to be honest with you, I was skeptical about going to the Amen Clinic at that point in time, which was about 10 years ago. Well, no. Yeah, it was about 10 years ago, about 2016. Because I am aware of the misogyny in this country. I'm aware of the racism in this country. We know about the Tuskegee Airmen, right? And we know about, what was it, pneumonia? Or was it syphilis? Something that they gave and experimented on these servicemen. So I'm not foolish enough to think that there's experimentation that happens without people's consent. I feel we're coming to an age and time where those things are lesser, and when they're lessening, and eventually they will be gone and eradicated because karma is real, and uh, it just is what it is, right? But with that awareness, I made the choice. I'm not going to go in there and let them see with their technology that my frontal lobe has more activity than a regular person. I'm aware of it, and it is what it is. So, again, I don't take it personal, but I do recognize when people are confused by me because they're like, wait a minute, you look kind of regular on the outside, but you don't talk regular. Why are you always happy? And why are you always smiling? You must not see this. You may not see that. Oh, I see it all and I hear it. Not everything, but what is in my awareness, what is present. I did public safety for over 10 years in one of the busiest cities and biggest cities in the world. And I never had an issue while I was on duty. Have I had to contact the police? Yes. Have I had to contact EMT? Yes. But have an issue where somebody got injured or something happened to public property or to a person while I was on duty? No, because not only is my frontal lobe more active, but I'm paying attention. My peripherals are on. So just because I don't speak on it, just because I won't engage in gossip. Just because I don't do those things don't mean that something wrong or I'm crazy. It's quite the opposite. But I digress. I just wanted to throw that out there because it seems more and more people are getting curious about me. And more people are like, what they thought is a contrast. It's like, oh, wait, quite the opposite. She's actually quite fucking smart. Wait a minute. And speaking of smart, I smell my food and I see 27 minutes, 28 minutes. That's my cue to check on my rice. And how did I know 30 minutes? How did I know? Let me stop. I can't stop. Won't stop. Be right back, people. You are not good. You got me saying, ma. That girl can cook alright. And her food be so dang good. I haven't gotten on a scale lately, but but I have noticed a little bit of fluctuations in my midsection. And let me tell you, it's not from eating outside. It's from more eating inside. And most of the time, I'm not even eating a lot inside. I'm not eating a little bit, but I'm not eating a lot. But let's get back to the book. Enough about me, right? Mind, matter, and more. When I took neuroanatomy in graduate school at Life University for my doctorate in chiropractic, I dissected countless numbers of brains. Ooh, Joe Dispenza, you was dissecting brains? I saw quickly that without life, the brain is just a piece of matter, an organ that, when unanimated, cannot think, feel, act, create, or change. This is why I respect this guy so much. Because come on, he's not. And not saying I don't respect other mystical brothers, because I just mysticism is one of the things that I do respect and practice. However, when you mix that with academia, like this man studied neuroscience, this man dissected brains while he was in school. This man, when he's talking and he has put something together, it's very intentional and not just based on. Not saying nothing's wrong with having divinity speak through a person, but it's not just based on that. He has the evidence to balance and concrete it. So if you're skeptical, which I think skepticism is a healthy thing, you can do your own research and you can cure that skepticism towards him, because a doctorate in chiropractor. Anyway, let's get back to the book. I quickly saw that without life, the brain is just a piece of matter, an organ that, when unanimated, cannot think, feel, act, create, or change. Even though the brain is our most important organ, active and necessary for everything we do, how we think, how we behave, how we feel, it needs animation. It is the organ of intelligence, but it's just an organ. In other words, the brain cannot change itself without an operator. The brain is the organ of the central nervous system that has the greatest number of nerve cells, or neurons, clustered together. When neurons are in great number, we have intelligence. Neurons are extremely tiny, about 30,000 to 50,000 would fit on the tip of a pen. In one part of the brain called the neocortex, the home of our conscious awareness, every nerve cell has the possibility of linking with 40,000 to 50,000 other nerve cells. In another area known as the cerebellum, every neuron has the potential to connect with up to 1 million other neurons. To view these two types of neurons, see Figure 2.1. I don't know. You might want to pause it and take a look at it, or you might just want to look it up online. This is page 67. As a matter of fact, the brain consists of some 100 billion. Yeah, that's right. I didn't say million, I said billion with a B. 100 billion neurons that are connected in a myriad of three-dimensional practice patterns, rather. Doing that quick reading again. As we always as we already learned, the diverse combinations of these billions of neurons linked together and firing in unique sequences make up what scientists call neural networks. What we learn When we learn something or have an experience, nerve cells team up and make new connections that literally changes us. Because the human brain affords so many possible connections between neurons, and because neurons can communicate directly with each other, the brain is able to process thought, learn new things, remember experiences, perform actions, demonstrate behaviors, and speculate on possibilities, just to name a few. It is the central processing unit of the body. Therefore, the brain is the instrument we physically use to consciously evolve our understandings in life and to subconsciously support our very life. Think of consciousness as what inhabits and occupies this biocomputer called the brain. It's like the electrical current that runs a computer in all its programs. The brain has hardwired systems built in and the software systems that consciousness is upgrading or routinely using. Consciousness enables us to think and at the same time to observe our thinking process. We typically think of consciousness as our awareness of self and our perception of the world around us. However, there is another type of intelligence within us, one that constantly gives life to us, moment by moment, without any need of our help. Doctors of chiropractic call this innate intelligence, and it resides equally in all things. I like to call it divinity. Some people call it God, some people call it Allah. Innate intelligence. I like that though. In fact, this philosophy states that our innate intelligence, facilitated through the physical brain, is just an expression of universal intelligence in the body. Therefore, what I learned both as a chiropractor and as a student at RSE, it seems that there are two elements to our consciousness. One aspect, which we call subjective consciousness, maintains our individual free will and enables us to express ourselves as a thinking self with our own traits and characteristics. The individual, subjective part of us, this element of consciousness, encompasses our unique qualities, including the ability to learn, remember, create, dream, choose, and even not choose. This is the you or the self. Subjective consciousness can exist both in the body and independent of the body. When people have an out of body experience during which they are completely aware, you can see the body lying in bed. It is subjective consciousness that is aware in the experience, independent of the body. It is our self conscious identity. For the most part, throughout our life, it is localized within the physical body. The other element of consciousness is the intelligent awareness within us that gives us life every day. Let's term this objective consciousness or the subconscious. This is a system of awareness separate from the conscious mind. It is subconscious, but it is incredibly intelligent and mindful. It is also separate from the thinking brain, but it operates via the other parts of the brain to keep our body in order. With objective consciousness running the show, the brain processes millions of automatic functions every second on a cellular level and an aggregate level as well, of which we are not consciously aware. I want to pause right there. I feel such just relief um, taking the time to read this because I feel having a hypervigilance and a more active frontal lobe, I needed to have this. Even though I see the evidence, um, I hear his stories, I read the stories of other individuals who did some amazing things through meditation and life visioning. And I hear it literally all the time through my other good brother, Dr. Michael Beckwith, to actually sit with this and to consume this information from a scientific point of view is good, because now when I do my practices, it's not just me saying, okay, I'm just acknowledging the divine. It is now like, oh no, this is a project. This is a project that I'm doing, which is applicable to my life, which is why I have these here in the background, because there are some things that need to be corrected. You can't see the muscle one really, and I don't want to move the phone because I don't want it to drop. But there are specific muscles that I had to learn about, you know, and because there are specific functions of the body. And even with the workshop that I did today, not to get too far off of subject, but the workshop I did today with the group of women, the lady who was the facilitator, she kept saying and reiterating, all right, we're going to pause for a moment and we're just going to go into our bodies. And in my brain, I was like, girl, I ain't never leave my body. Like, I'm always in tune with my body. However, it was necessary for me to get that tidbit. And during that workshop, I sat on the floor, I did some stretches, I touched my toes, not for a long time. Because things are tight, but I was able to exert my willpower to get it done, right? And afterwards, I was just like, okay, I need to do more of that. But it's more to it than just the physical part. It's also the mental part to it, because it took mental um, strength and mental direction along with the physical activity to even reach it. I remember it just happened like what, a little over an hour ago. I'm sitting on the floor and I see a nail that I want, and I like my feet, I like my whole body, but I don't have a foot fetish, but I got really cute toes, right? And I'm looking at my toes, and I was, we discussed so many things in this workshop, childhood, and I remembered my childhood. I was very agile physically before my first injury, and I think that first injury did not just impact my body. That first injury also impacted my mind, because in my mind, after that first injury, it was like I can't do the things that I used to do. And there was nobody to tell me, yes, you can. There was nobody to tell me with physical therapy, yes, you can, 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 yes, you can. So for years, I told myself, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't. Then comes the next major injury. Oh, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't. Then comes the third major injury. And the third major injury is where things shifted for me, because I was exposed to this information and this knowledge already. So instead of telling myself that I couldn't, I started telling myself that I could. And I think that's a large part of how I got connected to this amazing physical therapy place all the way out in Fairfield, New Jersey, that because I was like, okay, I can, I can, I can, I can, I can, I can. I got connected with experts who also were like, you can, you can, you can, you can, you can. So not only am I telling myself this, and when you are repetitive with anything consciously, it eventually goes into your subconscious mind. And once it goes into your subconscious mind, now that command basically that you have programmed into your own mind, into your own subconscious, now it begins to rearrange the neurons in your brain, which allows you to stick with whatever action you're taking physically to improve and repair an injury. And this particular man right here, Dr. Joe Dispenza, I don't know if anybody was around for when I went through the very, very beginning of this book, but he had a major injury. Like, he didn't just slip and fall. He didn't just was part of a motor vehicle accident and hit the ground. Like, he broke stuff in his spine, people. He broke bones in his spine. He broke bones in his spine. And professional surgeons, even his colleagues, because this was after he was already a doctor, after he had studied all of these things, they told him he needed to get rods inside of his spine and he needed to hurry up and get them, or else he was going to be paralyzed. He was running like a triathlon or something. And yeah, he didn't do the surgery. And I seen him with my own eyes. It's not just something I read in a book. I didn't just see him on stage as on TV. I saw him in real life. In real life, I seen this man walking, talking. So he healed himself. And that's the purpose of this book. This book is basically showing you that you can heal yourself. And then he worked with people and studied people who had also healed themselves. And then he created a whole business out of it. A whole business out of it. And why did and how did I connect with such a soul as such? Because it's possible. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take. And I had to get that ideology out of my mind because I'm just like, oh, I want it to happen. I want it to happen in 6 months. I want it to happen in this time, that time. And it's like, it really doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is that it's possible. There's proof, there's science to back it up, and that I have successfully programmed my subconscious to know that it's possible. And it's tricky, and it's a sticky space and place when there's pain in your body that says mm-mm, and you still have to sort of push past it, if that makes sense. Instead of trying to just medicate it and not feel it, it's like, okay, there's pain. There's a reason why there's pain. Why is there a reason why there's pain? Oh, there was an injury here. Okay, what can I do to repair this injury? And there's even my orthopedic. My orthopedic is like, we don't even know how you're walking right now. It should be impossible for you to even walk. So we don't even know how you're walking right now. That's out of my orthopedic's mouth. And I'm like, I never told myself I couldn't. Like, so I'm doing it. I don't know neither. But even the imaging that they had, they did not CAT scans, they did MRIs on me. And the way the MRIs show up, they're like, they looking at the picture, they looking at me. And you can see a bit, but I'm there and I'm smiling. They're like, so you don't have a prescription. You're not taking anything for the pain, but what's going on? And that's another thing. And I'm pretty sure they'll get into it in this book right here. But your body, when you are happy, when you are joyful, your body produces certain chemicals. So you basically have your own pharmacy within your body naturally, especially if you're healthy and especially if you are putting the right nutrients into your body. So when you put in the right nutrients into your body, you're healthy, you're hydrated, you can produce your own um, medicine, basically, for lack of a better word, because oxytocin and there's other hormones that are created from happiness that blocks pain receptors, people. That's another reason why it's just to be happy. It is intentional and it's dualistic. It's not just, okay, this is what I'm going to attract from focusing on this. This is going to make my life better. Yes, those are reasons why. But also, it treats the pain in my body as I heal. And again, I don't know how long the healing process is going to be. The last major injury was in 2023. It's 2026 now. So, and I'm still not completely recovered. I'm still not cleared to work a regular job. There's still a lot of obstacles there. And somehow, some way, I pushed myself and I had some understanding people because I communicated with people and let them know. I even showed them copies of my MRI scan, whether they were interested or not. I had to let them know, listen, if I'm not showing up to class, it's not because I don't want to learn. It ain't because I'm not taking this serious. It's because the pain is just to an excruciating point where I have to rest. Where, okay, looking at something and being intentional about being happy, that ain't enough today. I gotta actually stay the heck home. And most of my professors were supportive, and they understood, and they worked with me. They're like, do your work, you do your work, you fine. And then I found an alternative. Guess what that alternative was? Online classes, people, where I didn't have to put physical stress on the injuries in my legs. I could rest and complete my work. You know what I'm saying? So I know I went I said I wasn't gonna do a lot of yapping, but um, yeah, This means a lot to me. This is a gift to me, and also a gift to anybody else who is going through physical ailments and changes, to know you don't have to rely on something that's going to harm you. Because, not saying all medicines are like that, but I haven't heard a commercial yet that's like, take this pill or take this shot. There are no side effects. Every commercial that I've ever seen about a pharmaceutical drug was like, I have these people and they're like, yeah, you can take this and feel better. But please note that these are possible side effects: death, stroke, uh, like what? What are the side effects? And then that's only one aspect of it. The other aspect is the fact that um, Depravera, Depravera, there are Depravera lawsuits going on right now. Something that they were soliciting to pregnant women. There are lawsuits about it right now. If you take in the Depravera side, and that's just one example, so many drugs, so many pharmaceutical created things that they, even though they tell you the side effects and you choose to still take it, then 10 years down the line, they're like, oh, you're still alive? You might be entitled to some compensation. Huh? What? Compensation? So, as an individual with a lot of frontal lobe activity, you're not gonna stop it, right? They should have never gave me a definitive scientific way to describe my brain. As an individual with a lot of frontal lobe activity, how could I act like I didn't hear that? I heard it. I heard it. I heard it. I heard it. So it's interesting because I be having conversations with a relative of mine who has, they're going through a lot of stuff medically. And they're like, I trust them, because they doctors. And it's like, it's not a matter of trust. It's a matter for me of the facts. And there's no way I can act like I didn't hear them say all of these side effects. And no way I could pretend that I ain't seeing them come out 10 years after they didn't release something and say, oh, if you didn't die, you can maybe get paid. So essentially, back to the experimenting. So this is not an issue of trust. This is an issue of my frontal lobe being active a lot and saying, that don't add up. That don't make sense. Okay. No, thank you. Let's see what other alternatives there are. Let's try this. Let's try this. I'll go and get your imaging. Like, go. Come on, look inside. What you see? What you see? I remember one time I went and I had a physician tell me, your stuff is phenomenal. And I got a little nervous. I was happy, but I got nervous too. Like, okay now, because I know what y'all be doing with organs and stuff. And thank you. That was many years ago. But I pay attention and I study. I don't just study one topic. I study the anatomy of the body and how it works, and so yeah, I'm a geek and I don't mind being a geek. Let's get back to the book. Uh, whew, that was good. This was good for me though. Uh, and the rice is done and it was very tasty. It is very tasty. The objective intelligence. Where do we go? Okay, let's get back. This is, okay, I'm going to start just from this paragraph. I probably read in it and stopped in the middle, but I'm going to start from the top. The other element of consciousness is the intelligent awareness within us that gives us life every day. Let's term this objective consciousness or the subconsciousness. This is a system of awareness separate from the conscious mind. It is subconscious, but it is incredibly intelligent and mindful. It also separate it is also separate from the thinking brain, but it operates via the other parts of the brain to keep our body in order. With objective consciousness running the show, the brain processes millions of automatic functions every second on a cellular level and an aggregated level as well, of which we are not consciously aware. These are the aspects of our health and life that some take for granted. Because I know I'll be like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Some take for granted every day. The systems that control our heart, digest our food, filter our blood, regenerate cells, and even organize our DNA. It takes a great and unlimited consciousness to be responsible for all these functions. This objective intelligence knows so much more than what our personality self knows, even though we think we know it all. And I don't. It is be so funny when people be like, "You think you know it all?" Who told you that? My self advocacy told you that. How you get that from self advocacy? Somebody standing up for themselves, and your response is, "You think you know it all?" Like, okay, you just told me how much your frontal lobe is working. Alrighty. This is a universal, fundamental aspect of every human being, independent of age, independent of age, independent of gender, independent of gender, independent of gender. My good men out there, independent of education, independent of religion, independent of social status, independent of culture. Few ever stop. Few. I'm one of the few. To acknowledge its power, will, and intelligence. In fact, this aspect of consciousness is what gives life to all things. It is a real intelligence with quantifiable energy or force that is innate in all things. It is objective and constant. It has been called 0 point field, the source, and universal intelligence. It is the source that collapses the quantum field into all physical form. Literally, it is the life force. Quantum physics is just beginning to measure this field of potentials. As human beings, we possess both elements of consciousness. We are consciously aware as a subjective consciousness, and we exist because we are connected to the force of life that is an objective consciousness. We have free will to choose the quality of life we desire, and at the same time, a greater intelligence is giving and allowing us the animation of life in every second. In fact, science now understands that everything physical, including you, including me, is just the tip of an immense iceberg. The question is, what is the field that holds it all together? And how do we make contact with it? Good question, yes. And it can't force itself. It's somebody said it so clear. It's a conversation. It's not, it doesn't impose because we do have the free will, and it can't force. It can nudge and guide and be available to you, but you have to call it to you know. I'm gonna just keep on going. The brain has the equipment, so to speak, to facilitate both these levels of consciousness. The brain without consciousness is inert and lifeless. When the consciousness is facilitated through the human brain, the end result is called mind. Mind is a working brain, a brain in action. Mind comes into being when an operating brain is animated with life through a functioning brain. Mind then is the product of consciousness, manipulating the subtle and diverse neural tissues of the brain. Since both of these specific levels of consciousness animate the brain to create mind, we must possess two different arrangements at work in the brain. We have conscious mind and subconscious mind embroidered in two diverse brain systems. Accordingly, the brain has two distinct generalized systems with appropriate hardware to facilitate two types of consciousness. Our conscious awareness is based on the neocortex, the crown of our brain. The neocortex is the seat of free will. This is the conscious thought center of the brain, where everything an individual learns and experiences is recorded, and where information is processed. The arrangement of how brain cells are connected together in the neocortex distinguishes you from other individuals and make you unique. If you look at figure 2.2, you will see the neocortex. You have the ability to be consciously aware of yourself, aware of your actions, aware of your thoughts, aware of your behavior, aware of your feelings, aware of your environment, and aware of your mind. And to express thoughts and ideas. The invisible qualities of self reflection, self contemplation, and self observation define your subjective experience of self. When we speak in terms of a person losing consciousness or regaining consciousness, we mean that he or she is leaving or returning to a level of being self aware, awake, and possessing a conceptual memory of self. All this is managed by the neocortex, the new brain. And that's up in that frontal lobe, baby. Oh, that's up in that frontal lobe, baby. Oh, I believe some refer to it as your third eye, it's your neocortex. Let's talk a bit. We don't actually stop right here. I'm gonna put a little mark where we're ending. We're ending at the first paragraph now. I don't know if you have a copy of this book yourself. If you do have a copy of this book yourself, on page 70, the first paragraph on this page, not the continuation of the other paragraph. Those two different things, right? The first paragraph is where we're going to leave off, and we will come back next week. And this, ooh, that food smelling good. I have to put that spinach on, baby. Ooh, see if I have any room in my tummy from all this daggone Joe I was drinking. That Joe is in there helping me get those grits out the way. But anyway, it was great as always. Thank you for tuning into Soulful Sunday. I am going to publish this immediately, and I'm going to put the link to Dr. Amen's clinic in the description. All right. And I know, again, I have to work on redrafting my descriptions. Right now, I'm keeping it really simple. Soulful Sunday and the date and the title of the book and the pages we read from. Where did we start? We started at page, 62? We went from 62 to 70 today. And that's it. because we're still in the first chapter. This is a big book. We're going to be here for a while, right? But thank you for tuning in. And if you've missed any prior episodes, if you want to hear more about the book, the episodes are published. And yeah, you have your free will to look at it when you have the time to. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.